Former MPP constituency chairman released from BNI custody to return tomorrow will speak live to his lawyer to find out what transpired when he visited him today.
They took me to the inner cell, where a very hot room with mosquito, mosquito invested room. That is where I slept overnight, and next morning to around 11 they came back to pick me. They went to question me again, and then after the questioning they asked me to write a statement.
Well, he has been speaking about what he calls the terrible conditions under which he was kept. We'll get details from his lawyer and also interrogate the legal basis for holding him.
This is Top Story with Evans Mensah.
Top Story is brought to you by Bond Financial Services, your success, our passion. Belacra Mineral Water, the new generation mineral water. It's also brought to you by Lifebuoy, still 100% better germ protection, also by Blue Rose Limited. Bailed without charge after nearly 48 hours behind bars at the Bureau of National Investigations, the former MPP constituency chairman, Omari Wadia, was held for allegedly posting on Facebook a doctored picture of President John Mahama having sex with a woman. Now, his detention sparked protests from party loyalists who camped at the BNI offices demanding his release. Well, a couple of hours back, he walked from the BNI cells, not charged with any offense, but asked to return tomorrow for further interrogation. He has already been speaking about what he calls the terrible conditions under which he was detained. Earlier, we managed to catch these few words with him before the call was terminated. Listen.
Well, I traveled. I arrived yesterday morning. Our plane touched down around 5 a.m. I just set up from the plane, and then there's an immigration officer called me and asked me to follow him. I followed him, and he handed me to some metro boys, and they took me to a car. They said, "We are going somewhere." I said, "Where and why?" I had my family waiting for me. I said, "Can you let me tell them that I'm not coming, so they should, or wherever we are going?" They said, "No." "Where are we going?" They won't tell me. They only drove me to they said, "When we get to where we're going, I will know." So they only drove me to the BNI office. At the BNI office, they took everything of mine, and well, they took me to my house in the afternoon. They went to search my house, ransack my house, and took my laptop and then two of my old phones. They took them, and then the original phone that I was using they took that one too. In the evening, they took me to the BNI office at 37. They said that is the regional office. That is where they detained me overnight. In the night, they called me again, took me to a room, interviewed me. That is when they told me that they are investigating a case involving a picture that had been posted on the internet. That is the president's picture of him and a lady. And they were investigating. So I told them what I know about it, and they said I should go back. So they sent me back to the cells, locked me up. This time they took me to the inner cell, where a very hot room with mosquito invested room. That is where I slept overnight, and next morning to around 11 they came back to pick me. They went to question me again, and then after the questioning they asked me to write a statement. At this time, I had all this while I've been requesting that they let me talk to my family or my lawyers. They did not. On the final hour, they said I should write a statement. I requested I want my lawyer to be here. They said, then we have to wait. In the course of waiting, I said, no, okay, let me write. So I wrote the letter. I wrote the statement for them. And they asked if I know anybody's number offered. I said, all my numbers are on my phone. If you give me my phone, they said the phone is around. So at that time, I just called them, got a number. And then they called that individual, and he came. And he said, there and then that they told me that they are granting me bail. I should come back the next morning.
Well, earlier today, we heard from government. The Deputy Information Minister, Murtala Mohammed, was clear government must not be linked to his arrest.
Listened to the gentleman, and he admitted that he actually did it. We are not talking about the person called John Dramani Mahama. We are talking about the office of the President of the Republic of Ghana. Because political leadership is like a bed of passage, that no matter how long it takes, it will come to a time that you have another person who will be in the office of the presidency. Equally, I would condemn those who actually did that to Nana Addo. I haven't seen that picture, but I'm told, per the interview the General Secretary of the NPP had, I think that we ought to condemn that. That is just bad, that is barbaric, that is something that we must not encourage. Because when those things are done, it is projected globally. Facebook is not only limited to Ghana. Everywhere anybody can see it. And there are people who will see it and believe that that picture is true. So I would just urge all of us that, look, this is something that the BNI is handling. I am a Deputy Minister of Information, and I speak for the government. And I know that there is a distinction between the BNI and the government. The BNI is a state institution, an independent state institution, and I can't sit here and determine to them who they should arrest and who they should not arrest. I think that His Excellency the President has a family, he has children. His children will also see such a picture, and do you know how they would feel? Do you know the psychological trauma that they will go through seeing their father's picture that is portrayed that way? And do you think that it will be extremely difficult? Don't you think it will be difficult for sometimes certain people to be convinced that that picture is not the real picture of their father? Equally to Nana Addo. He has a family. His children will feel it the same way just as your children will feel it. I think that we need to be decent in the kind of politicking we do.
Joining me on the line right now is the lawyer for Omari Wadia, that's Captain Nkrabea Fadate, who today attempted to indeed gain access to him at the BNI offices. Thank you very much for your time here on Top Story. Let me ask, your client tells us that he's not being charged. Can you corroborate that?
Well, I can corroborate that to the extent of saying that when I went to the BNI offices, they didn't grant me access to him. And then when I met him, I asked him, and he said he has not been charged. So to that extent, I can corroborate that my client has not been charged.
We know that today you tried to gain access to him. When we spoke to us earlier, we've just played that clip. He talks about the conditions under which he was held. What more do you know about that?
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know much. I don't know much because I was instructed to go and defend him by going to BNI cells. So I went there. I went to the BNI offices where we were told they are holding him. And then they kept me there waiting for over 1 hour and then asked me to report back at 3 o'clock. I got there at 3 o'clock to see that my client has been released.
So clearly, this is not over because from what we understand, he's been asked to report tomorrow, correct?
Yes. From what I hear and I gather, I think the game is not over and that the drama is still being played out.
And from a lawyer's point of view, what is it that you anticipate will happen? I don't know if you've spoken to him directly since he was released.
Well, I have briefly, but I am just wondering what they can do, because from what I read in the newspapers today and from what I have gathered from discussions with interested parties, or should I say stakeholders in the matter, my view is that there is not much substance upon which they can move on. I won't be surprised if this turns out to be one of going and coming, and then eventually peeling off as one of those cases.
Has your client admitted anything to you as far as this accusation is concerned?
No, not yet.
Because clearly from what we've heard, he somehow, allegedly, is behind this doctored picture depicting the president in a pretty awkward sexual position with a certain lady posted on Facebook.
Well, my client has not told me anything that makes him liable or culpable or involved in the matter. For now, my position is that my client is absolutely innocent and that he has nothing to do with this allegation.
But
I can see my client coming out eventually.
Because I'm wondering what makes you say that, since we don't know as of yet what he had done or had not done, and the investigations are still continuing. What makes you so confident?
I'm confident because my client has told me that he is not involved. My client has told me that he is not behind the allegations. My client has told me that the suspicion against him is unfounded. Beyond that, as a lawyer, there's nothing else I can do except to believe my client.
Have you had an indication that this might end up in court anytime soon? Because he was asked to write a statement today.
Yes, but of course, every policeman will tell you that writing a statement does not necessarily mean that the matter is going to court. But I can see if he has written a statement, that is not conclusive. The charges are going to follow and that prosecution is going to follow. As I said a few minutes ago, I am very certain this case will end nowhere.
And is it that purely based on the fact that your client had told you had nothing to do with this?
That is so.
You admit that that could change based on what the outcome of the investigations are exactly?
Oh, of course. If my client is saying one thing, and the investigators who have the capacity to talk to a millennia of witnesses, they are also having a position. If they are able to establish through empirical evidence from several witnesses that, yes, notwithstanding what my client is saying, they think there is a basis for prosecuting him, well, the situation will change and they'll arraign him before a court of law. But like I said, from what my client has told me and looking at the nature of the offense, it's very difficult to pin it on him unless somebody has really got some information that I don't have yet.
The other lawyers have raised the bigger question that indeed if it's found that he or somebody else were involved in posting this particular nude picture of the president on Facebook, they will be liable to very specific charges under our laws, although the platform is a pretty new thing to our laws, Facebook, social media. You agree with that?
Yes, I agree with that. If the investigators can establish that my client was personally responsible for placing such a detestable picture in the Facebook, then, as you rightly pointed out, this is a new technology, a new development in our law, and it will amount to defamation, and one can look at it for prosecution. I can see charges possibly being raised in that event on public immorality and so on.
Libel, perhaps?
Well, I'm not sure of libel, but maybe immorality. Okay,
thank you, sir, for your time. That's Nkrabea Fadate. He is the lawyer for Omari Wade, who is the former MPP constituency chairman. He's been bailed, we understand, without charge. He's been asked to come back tomorrow. There are other lawyers who hold an entirely different view that indeed if he's found guilty, and indeed Nkrabea Fadate himself just admitted that if he's found to have been engaged in anything such as he's being accused of, such as posting those nude pictures of the president on Facebook, then obviously he will be liable to specific charges under our laws. We want to interrogate that in detail if you join us on Newsline. We'll be speaking to some lawyers about this phenomenon. Facebook is entirely new to our laws, social media for that matter. So are there any specific laws? And if indeed there are, which ones will apply in this particular case? We'll be interrogating those other things if you join us on Newsnight. My name is Evan Spencer. Top story is brought to you by Bond Financial Services. Your success, our passion. Belacro Mineral Water, New Generation Mineral Water. It's also brought to you by Lifeboy, Blue Rose Limited, and Star Life.